A bright, popular schoolgirl vanished without a trace. All signs pointed to one chilling possibility: abduction. Panic swept through the community. Fear turned to dread. For her family, it was the unthinkable. A nightmare came to life. Days turned into nights filled with terror. It was hell and heartbreaking. The pressure was mounting. The investigator was determined to find the missing girl, no matter what it took. Just when the investigation hit a dead end, a new witness came forward, someone who could finally reveal the truth. All was calm in the small town of Star City. 16-year-old Skyler Neese returned home, exhausted after a long, late shift at the local diner. Skyler's mother, Mary Neese, recalled their last conversation that night, said she was tired and mentioned she was heading to bed. She kissed her mother on the cheek, and Mary told her they loved her before wishing her good night. It was a simple, familiar exchange, one that would later carry a heartbreaking weight. The next morning, Skyler's father, David Neese, returned home after a night shift to lend his daughter a car. David Neese, Skyler's father, recalled the moment he arrived home. He knocked on her door, calling out, "Skyler, honey, it's Daddy. You'll have to get ready and take me back to work if you want the car." But there was no response. The door was locked. In frustration, he grabbed a coat hanger and managed to pop it open. But when he entered Skyler's room, it was empty. A sinking feeling grew inside him. Something was wrong. Her bed hadn't been slept in, and a wave of panic started to settle in. David immediately called Mary at work, asking, "Do you know where Skyler is?" Her reply was a no. Mary wasn't as immediately worried. She calmly told David to relax, reassuring him that they would find Skyler. After all, Skyler was often at friends' houses or out at birthday parties. Mary suggested David call some of her friends to check if she was with them, maybe out shopping or swimming. The next call was to Skyler's best friend, Sheila Eddy. David asked, "Have you seen Skyler?" Sheila replied, "No." When asked when they last spoke, she said, "Midnight last night." David's concern grew as he realized how long it had been. He replied, "Wow, okay, I'm starting to get really worried. I can't find her anywhere." A high achiever and loving daughter, Skyler's their pride and joy. David Neese described Skyler as spoiled rotten. He fondly remembered their special days together when Mary had to work and he didn't. They called it Skyler Daddy Day, a time when they could do anything Skyler wanted. As their only child, Skyler was devoted to her parents. Unlike many kids who often distance themselves from their parents, Skyler never did that. She made sure to tell them every day that she loved them. Meanwhile, Skyler's father stepped out onto the porch. As he looked down, he noticed a small black bench. Then he saw her window was open. A sinking feeling washed over him. "Oh no," he thought. "She must have snuck out last night." This wasn't the first time Skyler had rebelled. In Star City, the curfew was set at 11 p.m., and the goal was to keep teenagers safe, preventing parties and underage drinking to avoid accidents. But sometimes teenagers sneak out. It was nothing unusual for Skyler. When Mary heard the news, she didn't panic. Instead, she headed home to comfort David and come up with a plan. Skyler was the type to go to work even when she was sick, so Mary told David, "She's due at work by 4 o'clock. If she doesn't show up, we'll give her until then." 6 hours passed without a word. All they could do was pray that Skyler would show up at her job. About 10 minutes before they called the fast food place to ask if Skyler had shown up, they received a call. The voice on the other end asked, "Is Skyler coming to work today?" In that moment, they knew something was wrong. Skyler's father dialed 911, urgently stating, "My 16-year-old daughter is missing. We can't find her anywhere. Please, we need help." The Star City police quickly responded to the call, even though most cases of missing teens turned out to be false alarms. Typically, if a teen ran off on a Friday, they were back home by Monday, just wanting to have fun over the weekend without their parents' permission. But this time, something felt different. In this small town, the police were more than willing to help worried parents. They began their search by inspecting Skyler's bedroom, looking for any clues that might explain her sudden disappearance. The first thing the police noticed was Skyler's cell phone charger. Teenagers never go anywhere without their phone, and Skyler was no exception. Her contacts were still there, her toothbrush untouched, and there was no sign of any clothes being taken. Nothing seemed out of place. If she had run away, she would have taken something with her. The police had seen it all before, but Skyler's parents knew this wasn't just another typical case. Fearing the worst, they turned to the neighbors for help. They went door to door, block by block, asking if anyone had seen or heard anything. But no one had. The search came up empty. Star City was a tiny, sleepy town, so small that almost nothing happened without everyone knowing about it. That's why it was so hard for Skyler's parents when neighbors kept saying, "I haven't seen anything at all." It felt impossible that no one had noticed anything unusual. There had to be an explanation. Someone must know something. And then, right on cue, Skyler's best friend Sheila came forward. She hesitated, then said, "Mary, I have to tell you the truth." Mary, confused, asked, "The truth? What do you mean?" Sheila confessed, "Skyler, Rachel, and I snuck out last night." This confession confirmed the parents' growing suspicions. Skyler's mother immediately asked, "Where is Skyler? Where did you leave her?" At first, Mary thought Skyler had simply spent the night with one of her friends, but then Sheila continued, "When we came back, Skyler insisted that I stop at the end of the block, let her out, and she would walk home. She didn't want you to know she had snuck out. She didn't want you to hear her come in." Sheila claimed she dropped Skyler off around 11:45 p.m., and since then, none of the friends had seen or heard from her in over 18 hours. A terrifying thought began to take hold. If Skyler was left at the end of the block, then who could have taken her between that short walk from point A to point B? David was falling apart. Mary was overwhelmed with fear. Their 16-year-old daughter was missing, and no one had any idea where she could be. Mary was convinced Skyler had been abducted, and the thought left her terrified. It was every parent's worst nightmare. Sheila soon arrived at the Neese home, eager to help however she could. David looked at her and asked, "Sheila, are you sure you don't know where Skyler is?" She replied confidently, "I'm positive." A Star City police officer warned her, "Young lady, if you're lying, you're in serious trouble." Sheila stood firm. "I'm not lying." Just as panic was about to take over, Skyler's mother shifted into action. She remembered the apartment complex had security cameras. Turning to David, Mary said, "Let's call the landlord. Let's check the footage. If luck was on their side, those cameras might hold the final clues to Skyler's last known whereabouts." In the quiet town of Star City, West Virginia, teenager Skyler Neese had vanished without a trace. But in a surprising stroke of luck, a neighborhood surveillance camera may have captured everything. The parking lot camera, running 24/7, had suddenly become their best hope for answers. Police and Skyler's parents sat together, closely reviewing the video footage. They watched for hours, scanning every second. The footage played in real time, making the process painfully slow, but they knew any detail could be crucial. Around 12:30 a.m., a car slowly pulled up outside the apartment building. The footage was grainy and dark, the vehicle parked behind the building, hidden in the shadows. But it was the first real clue. David pointed at the screen and asked, "Is that you? Is that where you picked her up?" But Sheila shook her head. She explained they had picked Skyler up earlier, around 11 p.m., closer to the mailboxes near the parking area. They went for a short joyride just to hang out, and then everyone headed home. According to her, it was nothing out of the ordinary. The video revealed something no one saw coming. At 12:30 a.m., nearly 45 minutes after Sheila claimed to have picked her up, a car pulled up outside the apartment building. Moments later, Skyler's head suddenly appeared in the frame. She walked calmly down to the car and got in. Her parents felt a small wave of relief, thinking maybe she had simply left with a friend. But deep down, questions were starting to build. Detective Jessica Colbank closely examined the surveillance footage, analyzing every detail. The video showed a sedan pulling into the narrow drive between the two apartment buildings. The investigator's first real lead didn't come from the car itself, but from Skyler's behavior. She was practically running to the vehicle, which suggested she knew the person inside. This was a crucial clue. She wasn't hesitant or cautious, indicating she trusted the driver. This didn't look like an abduction. Could Skyler Neese have run away with someone she knew? It was always a possibility. Maybe there was something going on in her home life, or she had a secret boyfriend, or something else she hadn't shared. There were many unknowns, and investigators knew they needed to consider all possibilities. It had been 24 hours since Skyler was last seen, and despite the key piece of evidence, police were at a standstill. The images were too blurry to provide any solid leads. All they knew for sure was that it was a light-colored four-door sedan, but they couldn't make out the license plate, the make, or even the model. The only concrete fact was that Skyler had willingly gotten into that vehicle. That moment was the last known event they could document, and it was the only lead they had to work with. As 24 hours turned into 48, no new leads emerged. Skyler's parents were frantic, each passing day only deepening their anguish. The emotional toll was unbearable. It felt like a nightmare they couldn't wake up from. It was pure hell. It seemed like everything had come to a halt. The local police had seen Skyler get into the car willingly, and that was all they had to go on. To them, it pointed to her running away. But Skyler's parents felt powerless, believing that investigators weren't doing enough to find their daughter. It was incredibly frustrating for the investigators, too. They had no answers to any of the questions everyone was asking, except for one harsh reality. Skyler was still missing, and no one knew where she was. Desperate for any clue, David and Mary reached out to their community in every way they could. David even created his own webpage called Team Skyler to rally support. He wanted the local media to spread the word. With Skyler's face in the paper every day, he was determined to make sure people saw her picture, hoping someone would recognize her. Skyler's photo were distributed everywhere, filling the town in hopes of a breakthrough. Skyler was missing, and no one had heard from her. No one knew where she might be. To help ease the constant doubt, Sheila became a pillar of support for Skyler's parents. She was there nearly every day, offering comfort and reassurance. Her presence provided a small sense of hope in an otherwise heartbreaking situation. Sheila and Skyler had been best friends since they were 8 years old, sharing everything from laughter to late-night phone calls that would go on for hours. They were inseparable, always giggling and chatting nonstop if given the chance. Their bond was strong, and they truly loved spending time together. In freshman year, a new girl named Rachel moved to town and quickly became part of the inseparable trio with Skyler and Sheila. Things began to shift, and it was no longer just Skyler and Sheila. It was Skyler, Rachel, and Sheila, always together. They did everything as a group, with no one ever being left out. The bond between the three of them was unbreakable. Together, the trio quickly built a reputation for being wild. Partying and staying out late became the norm for them. It was far from the typical freshman experience. But now Rachel too isn't around. She miles away at church camp. 4 days had passed since Skyler's disappearance. In the meantime, David and Mary's media campaign gained momentum. The local news reported a missing teen, and soon the story spread rapidly across Facebook, catching fire and reaching an international audience. The Star City Police called with a potential lead, a sighting in North Carolina. A woman was certain she'd seen Skyler, accompanied by a girl with red hair. This new information gave hope that all the hard work might finally be paying off. If Skyler was with a red-haired girl, it could very well be Rachel. At the time, Rachel was supposed to be at church camp. However, it was always a possibility that she had skipped camp to run off with Skyler, perhaps to the beach, just to get away. It was the news the family had been praying for. They believed, with newfound hope, that they were finally going to bring Skyler home. In a small West Virginia town, authorities searched for 16-year-old Skyler Neese, a runaway last seen on security footage, willingly getting into a car in the dead of night. After days of dead ends, a new lead emerges. Skyler and her friend Rachel may have been spotted 600 miles away in North Carolina. As soon as David and Mary heard the news, they rushed to North Carolina, determined to bring Skyler home. It was the best news they had received since the very beginning. While the reasons behind Skyler's disappearance remained unclear, they knew she and Rachel had likely run off, searching for a place to stay. Just as David and Mary were preparing to hit the road, Detective Colbank received a call from dispatch. It wasn't Skyler. It wasn't Rachel. The two people spotted in North Carolina were runaways, but not the ones they were hoping for. The news hit hard. If that wasn't Skyler, it meant she was still out there, still missing. The search had to continue. 2 months had passed since she was last seen, and her disappearance sparked a wave of small-town gossip and speculation. Everyone had their own theories, but no one had the answers. As the police followed up on every lead, Skyler's good girl reputation began to take hits. Rumors started circulating that she had a secret boyfriend, one that her parents didn't know about. He was known to be a troublemaker, and whispers about their relationship added another layer of mystery to her sudden disappearance. If the rumor about the secret boyfriend was true, tracking him down could lead the police straight to Skyler. However, they needed a name to pursue. Skyler's classmates helped detectives by drawing up a list of her close male friends, hoping that one of them could provide the key to unlocking the mystery of her disappearance. Two names repeatedly surfaced during the investigation: 20-year-old Dylan Conaway and his older brother Derek, who lived in nearby Blacksville. Schoolmates revealed that Skyler and Rachel had been known to hang out with them, often partying together. The Conaway brothers had a questionable reputation, known for hosting parties that attracted underage girls, including Sheila, Rachel, and Skyler. With this new information, Detective Colbank enlists the help of state police to dig deeper into the brothers' background and their potential connection to Skyler's disappearance. Coincidentally, around the same time Skyler disappeared, a bank in Blacksville, West Virginia was robbed, and the entire crime was captured on surveillance footage. The male subject in the bank robbery had entered carrying a firearm, demanding a substantial amount of cash before fleeing on foot. The surveillance footage helped the police build a profile of the suspect, and the primary suspects quickly became the Conaway brothers. This raised an unsettling possibility. What if Skyler had somehow gotten involved with a couple of bank robbers? The theory brought a new layer of concern to the already complicated investigation. Investigators arrived at the Conaway residence for a knock and talk and saw Derek Conway digging holes in the backyard. In an attempt to lighten the mood, one of the officers jokingly asked, "What are you doing, trying to bury a body?" Derek froze, his face showing a shock, which raised further suspicion. Investigators focused on uncovering the Conaway brothers' social circles, probing into their friendships, relationships, and any possible secrets. Despite their efforts, nothing solid emerged. However, a new connection to Skyler's case surfaced, offering a potential breakthrough. It was discovered that Sheila, Eddy, and Dylan Conaway, the younger brother, had actually dated. As the investigation progressed, pictures began to surface showing Sheila, Skyler, and Dylan Conaway together. Social networking sites provided a glimpse into the Conaway brothers' lives. Investigators discovered that the brothers were involved in various types of drugs, often offering them to females in an attempt to get them loosened up. Police began to speculate that Skyler may have been involved with this shady crowd, possibly even among the females who were given drugs. The focus shifts from the bank robbery to finding Skyler, as there might now be a connection. Then detectives catch a break when a new piece of gossip emerges, potentially explaining why Skyler sneaked out on the night of July 5th. Investigators began receiving anonymous tips, with people calling in to share information. They were told about a party in Blacksville, where drugs and pills were present, and allegedly Skyler Neese had attended the party on the night she disappeared. The investigators then considered the possibility that one of the individuals from Blacksville had picked her up after Sheila dropped her off, taking her to the party. Even if Skyler had been at the party, no one was speaking up. Investigators remained hopeful that eventually someone would call and reveal what they knew about the party and what happened to Skyler. But as time passed, no one came forward. The silence was baffling, leaving investigators wondering why no one was sharing any information about Skyler's whereabouts or what had happened that night. Police visited Rachel after she returned from church camp. Her nervous behavior raised red flags. It was clear to investigators that she knew more than she was letting on. They sensed something had happened at the party and that someone knew the truth about what happened to Skyler. But the fear of speaking up kept them silent. It was a gut feeling that they were hiding something, too afraid to come forward. Rachel firmly denies any involvement, claiming she never drove to Blacksville or attended a party with Skyler on the night she vanished. Despite everyone knowing who Skyler's close friends were and where she spent her time, no one can seem to identify the car seen in the surveillance footage. The lack of answers frustrates the investigators, leaving them wondering why no one can provide crucial information about the vehicle's owner. To track down the car, police retrace the route from Star City to Blacksville, passing through various shops and gas stations. Their attention lands on a newly built Sheetz convenience store, hoping its recent installation includes security cameras. The detectives decide to visit and ask the store manager for any footage, hoping to find new clues about the car's direction or identification. It's a breakthrough. The Sheetz convenience store has security cameras, and the manager provides access to the footage from the night Skyler disappeared. As the police watch the video, they spot the car, a silver four-door sedan, passing the Sheetz at 12:30 a.m. At 12:39 a.m., the same car is seen again. The detective exclaims, "That's it! That's the car!" New surveillance footage from a convenience store in Star City, West Virginia, provides a crucial breakthrough in the search for missing teenager Skyler Neese. Star City police detectives spot a car matching the one seen at the Neese's apartment at 12:30 a.m. on July 6th, the night Skyler disappeared. The car is heading towards the apartments, a critical clue in the investigation. Just 9 minutes later, the exact same car drives past the Sheetz convenience store camera in the opposite direction, heading towards Blacksville. The shape and color match the car that picked Skyler up. Detectives cross-reference the time the car is first seen with the time Skyler snuck out, connecting the dots in the investigation. Just 5 minutes before the car entered the apartment complex, it was captured on camera, confirming its presence near Skyler's location before her disappearance. The evidence confirmed what detectives had suspected. Skyler had likely snuck out to attend a party. The new video footage from Sheetz provided a clearer view of the mystery car, though the license plate remained elusive. Still, detectives now had a more detailed description of the vehicle, bringing them a step closer to solving the case. Detectives knew identifying the car was crucial. Without it, the case could go cold. They analyzed every frame of surveillance footage, hoping for a breakthrough. The vehicle could be a Mazda, a Mitsubishi, or a Honda. So many models shared a similar design. With countless cars looking nearly identical, narrowing it down felt like chasing a needle in a haystack. Investigators set out in an unmarked vehicle, combing through Blacksville under the cover of night. Every back road was explored, and driveways were checked in rapid succession. Any car resembling the one in the surveillance footage was quickly photographed, its license plate recorded. Back at headquarters, each plate was carefully run through the system in hopes of uncovering a lead, any connection that could point to Skyler's whereabouts. Meanwhile, as the last known individuals to see Skyler, Sheila and Rachel come under increased pressure from Detective Colbank. Every detail of their late-night drive is scrutinized as investigators search for inconsistencies in their story that could crack the case wide open. Both girls firmly denied attending any party in Blacksville the night Skyler disappeared and claimed the vehicle caught on camera wasn't theirs. To verify their story, Detective Colbank began retracing their alleged route, starting with Sheila. She climbed into the cruiser and guided the detective through a series of side streets, confidently insisting this was the exact path they had taken that night. It was time to compare Sheila's version with Skyler's other close friend. Surely Rachel's story will match. Investigators later sat down with Rachel, only to find her version of events starkly different. According to her, they drove in the opposite direction, taking the main road through Star City. The contradiction raised red flags. Detective Colbank pointed out that Rachel's story might not hold up. There could be witnesses along that route she hadn't considered. The investigator reminded Rachel that the route she claimed to have taken was lined with businesses, all equipped with security cameras. If her story was true, it would be caught on tape. In that moment, a wave of panic washed over Rachel's face. Her expression went pale, eyes wide, frozen, as if she'd seen a ghost. Then came her shaky response, "Well, I was really high, so maybe not." If the girls are considered witnesses, one thing is certain. At best, they are unreliable. Up until now, Sheila had been the family's biggest support, and the police had trusted her account of when and where she dropped off Skyler. But now every detail Sheila provided had to be rechecked. Detectives returned to the security footage from the Neese's apartment, carefully reviewing it from the first frame to the last, looking for confirmation of Sheila's story. The investigator carefully reviewed the footage, but Sheila's car never appeared. Watching the video from start to finish, the timeline she provided didn't match up. The way the cameras were positioned, any car passing down that street would be visible. Although the cars might not stop in the camera's view, their headlights would still be seen. Yet there were no headlights at the time Sheila claimed to have picked up Skyler. The evidence suggests that Skyler's friends didn't pick her up or drop her off when they claimed. The surveillance footage clearly shows Skyler leaving her apartment at 12:30 and never returning. Someone is lying about the timeline of that night. Could the girls be lying about the car in the video too? After all, Sheila owns a car that can't be ruled out as a possible match. Sheila owns a 2006 silver Toyota Camry, which matches the color and description of the car seen in the video. It's a four-door vehicle, and the time frame aligns with Skyler's disappearance. The car was in the general area where Skyler lived, making it highly likely that it was Sheila's car seen on camera. Despite the car matching Sheila's description, there are thousands of similar vehicles in the area. Sheila remains adamant that the car in the video isn't hers. Without concrete evidence, there's no basis for an arrest. Cops dive into Sheila and Rachel's cell phone records, hoping for a breakthrough. What they uncover will change everything. It turns out both girls' phones were unusually active after 4 a.m. on July 6, 2012, in Blacksville, West Virginia. Rachel had insisted she wasn't in Blacksville that night, but the cell phone records told a different story, another lie. As investigators pieced together the video evidence and the phone records, the girl's story began to unravel. Then, during one of her interviews, Sheila finally admitted that it was indeed her car in the video. After 2 months of searching for the mystery vehicle, police discover that the owner was right under their nose the whole time. With the teens finally cornered, investigators are ready to press them for the truth about where they really went that night. Rachel admitted they went to Blacksville that night. Skyler wanted to visit a friend, but Sheila and Rachel didn't want to join her. So they agreed to drop Skyler off at the friend's house, leaving her there as they drove away. After finishing the interview with Rachel, the investigator immediately interviewed Sheila. Sheila admitted they went to Blacksville, but she said Skyler got mad because they wouldn't go to a friend's house with her. Skyler left and they couldn't find her. Once again, the girls' stories didn't match. The very next day, Sheila found out that Rachel had told investigators they dropped Skyler off at a friend's house. Sheila realized this contradicted her own earlier statement. Now the stories were aligning. Okay, we did drop her off at the friend's house in Blacksville. It became clear they were lying through their teeth. As the pressure mounted on Sheila and Rachel, rumors spread quickly through the school. Whispers filled the halls, and it became common knowledge that the girls were hiding something about Skyler's disappearance. Rachel's behavior grew more erratic, becoming hostile toward her friends and mean to her family. In December 2012, her mother, alarmed by her daughter's outbursts, called the police. Rachel was admitted to a psychiatric hospital where the truth began to unravel. 6 days later, Rachel was discharged from the hospital and voluntarily went to the police. Investigators anticipated she would confess that there had been a party, Skyler had overdosed, and in a panic they had helped dispose of her body. They were prepared for that revelation. But investigators were unprepared for the chilling story that was about to unfold. It was far darker and more twisted than they could have ever anticipated. The first words that came from Rachel's mouth were, "We stabbed her." The investigators were left speechless. This was a revelation no one had anticipated. Rachel and Sheila had murdered Skyler. On July 5, 2012, Sheila picked up Rachel and drove to Rachel's father's house. There they gathered a shovel and placed it in the trunk of the car, along with a change of clothes and cleaning supplies. Sheila also brought knives with them. At 12:15 a.m., Rachel called Skyler to let her know they were on their way to pick her up, asking her to be ready. After picking up Skyler, they drove out to a quiet, rural area in Greene County, Pennsylvania, where they pulled over. The three of them got out of the car, and as Skyler started walking back towards the vehicle to grab something like a lighter, Rachel counted to 3. That was the moment they had agreed on. At one point, Skyler, visibly confused and in shock, looked up and asked, "Why are you doing this? Why?" During the chaotic attack, Skyler managed to wrest the knife from Rachel and stabbed her in the leg. At that moment, Rachel stopped, but Sheila continued relentlessly. Sheila later admitted that after 50 stabs, she lost count, her actions driven by something far darker. After Skyler was dead, the two girls attempted to dig a grave, but the ground was too hard and the rocks made it impossible. Unable to bury her, they dragged her body about 44 feet from the roadside and covered it with branches, dirt, and leaves. They then changed out of their blood-stained clothes, disposed of the knives and clothes in the trunk of the car, and left, leaving Skyler's body behind. Skyler's body remained hidden for 6 months, only to be discovered on January 16, 2013. Investigators were left grappling with an unimaginable question. Why would two 16-year-old girls meticulously plan and execute the murder of their best friend? When asked why she and Sheila killed Skyler, Rachel's response was chillingly simple. "We didn't like her, that's all." The case sparked numerous rumors, suggesting that Skyler's best friends were either influenced by drugs, had a secret romantic relationship, or were simply consumed by evil intentions. Skyler's parents were forced to confront the painful reality that their daughter was gone and would never return. The betrayal by her two best friends was unfathomable. How could they do such a thing? while insisting for months that they had no knowledge of what happened. The grief was overwhelming, and though they would never truly heal, Sheila Eddy was sentenced to life in prison for first-degree murder, while Rachel Shoaf's confession led to a reduced sentence of 30 years. However, the true motive behind the murder has never been fully revealed by the killers. For Skyler's parents, the haunting question, why, remains unanswered. Two brief glimpses of a car were all it took for the police to crack the case wide open. Without the video footage, investigators would have had nothing to rely on but statements, leaving them with few leads. People often saw Sheila and Rachel as sweet, innocent girls, and to uncover the dark, evil side of them was almost unimaginable. But it was there. The truth was, that side of them existed, and it was a chilling revelation. The security footage didn't just help police crack the case of Skyler Neese, it gave her grieving parents one last glimpse of the daughter they cherished. If you found this case compelling, don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts below. Your support helps bring more awareness to these stories. Subscribe for more true crime content, and stay tuned for the next case. Thanks for watching.